Donald Trump says he has a huge announcement that he's going to release in the next few days. Some people are alluding to the fact that this could relate to the UFO disclosure that people are expecting, even more so. They've practically already disclosed. But he says it's going to be huge, unlike anything we've seen in a long time, a question that people have had for a long time. Now, this did come after he met with the Canadian Prime Minister, so it could be in relation to something else, but there is other UFO news going on right now that we'll look into in relation to this. I'm going to premiere this video, so I'll be in the live chat while the video is premiering, so we can chat in there about these different topics. So this video is from Jason A's YouTube channel. He's been posting Bible prophecy videos for a long time. So the title is Trump, Big Announcement in the Next Few Days. And let's watch some of this video.
And those days are over. Those days are over. And, you know, I said before in our meeting with the new and very talented Prime Minister of Canada that we have some very big announcement to make. It's not about trade. It's about something else, but it's going to be a truly earth-shattering and positive development for this country and for the people of this country. And that'll take place sometime within the next few days to make.
So that kind of makes it sound like it's going to be something else, not in relation to trade, but maybe something with Canada. But again, earth-shattering, something we haven't seen in a long time. And this one here kind of alludes to a little more like it might be something pretty big, potentially more UFO disclosure, or like the drone and orb disclosure.
Like as big as it gets, and I won't tell you on what, but it's going to, and it's very positive. I'd tell you if it was negative or positive. I can't keep that out. It is really, really positive. And that announcement will be made either Thursday or Friday or Monday before we leave. But it'll be one of the most important announcements that have been made in many years about a certain subject, very important subject. So you'll all be here. Mark, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually.
Members of Congress are...
So we'll see exactly what Trump's announcement will be. As I've checked lately, as of now, he hasn't released what that is. But there is other UFO news that we'll look into right now. Again, I believe this will play into the Great Deceptions. Easily could. It's clearly becoming more of a mainstream thing. And as we're, in my opinion, heading towards the end times, I mean, every day we get closer to Jesus' return. Why is it now that the UFO stuff is becoming completely mainstream?
Are demanding answers about deep, dark secrets hidden inside the vast national security apparatus secretly related to UFOs. New witnesses are being called to a public hearing that's set for next month.
One of the largest UFO programs ever funded by the government was based right here in Las Vegas, and nearly everything produced by that program is still hidden away.
8 News Now Chief Investigator George Knapp spoke with one of its central figures, scientist and author Dr. Jacques Vallée.
And just saying, well, just, disclose, doesn't answer any of that. Okay.
Jacques Vallée has been a central figure in UFO research and debate for more than 6 decades. He's often been at odds with UFO orthodoxy, was among the first to argue that the unknown craft seen for centuries in our skies and oceans may not be from other planets, but from other realities. He's heard the demands for an end to official secrecy many times, and at the same time has participated in secretive efforts himself. If there is
Obviously, that's what I definitely believe. And that's really what the evidence points to, that these crafts, these abductions, all of these manifestations are not from different planets or different galaxies. If you believe the Bible, to me, that doesn't make sense at all within the Genesis narrative of creation. But we know that there's different entities, principalities, and powers in other dimensions in the heavenly realms. And that's what I believe is manifesting. And even people who, are mainstream in the subject are starting to say the same thing.
There's some kind of non-human intelligence here. The secrecy starts with them. But governments, in particular the U.S. government, have created multiple other levels of secrecy.
The atomic secrecy, primarily, which most people in the Pentagon are not cleared for. And then the military secrecy and the strategic secrecy, and then the diplomatic secrecy.
In Dr. Vallée's most recent book, Forbidden Science, Scattered Castles, he shares private exchanges with colleagues from the OSAP program, including Las Vegas billionaire Robert Bigelow and a close-knit group of scientists nicknamed the Lone Stars. The scientists, some of them former CIA contractors, accept that the U.S. government has recovered crashed vehicles of unknown origin, that defense contractors have worked for decades to reverse engineer that technology at secret facilities in the desert and elsewhere. They say adversary nations have done likewise. The race to duplicate that technology means national security is at stake. Vallée favors transparency, but worries that an official declaration could prove chaotic.
That's where it starts to get weird, in my opinion, and where, in my opinion, the opinions start to get mixed about the crashed craft we really have to just trust a few different testimonies like Bob Lazar that that's exactly what's going on. I guess there's the potential that whatever these entities are in different dimensions, that they have some sort of technology, they create stuff. They definitely helped build the megaliths of the past. So somehow they have advanced understanding of either movement or something along these lines. But when we start saying that they're creating metal crafts, that's when we start to say that they're coming from other planets, which I definitely do not believe. But I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility that they're creating some sort of metal or something that they're coming in and out of or staying within. Maybe they're confined in it. Who knows? But we do know most of all, because God didn't give us all the answers on that, but he did give us the most important thing, is that Jesus' name is above it all. He's above every principality and power and defeated them on the cross. So as they start to manifest more into the world, thank God that we believe in Jesus. And even when Revelation is unfolding, those people who have the seal of God on them, the people who are here, are protected against the entities and the 200 million army of whatever those are that are released from the Euphrates River. So it starts to get into really supernatural concepts when all this will unfold more. So I'm sure God will reveal it to us as time goes on.
So if we want to disclose, even disclose something as simple as saying, yes, we acknowledge the phenomenon, and it seems to be from space, we would have to, once you do that, you have to answer 100 other questions. This is not the end. This is not the end of the story.
While Dr. Vallée is encouraged by the renewed interest in UFOs within Congress, mainstream media, and academia, he thinks someone needs to craft a well-planned strategy for how to unleash what would likely be the biggest news story in history.
I think we should disclose, but we should disclose with a structure, and the structure hasn't been invented yet.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
That's another thing that doesn't make sense to me about the whole they came from space theory is like, what are they doing? Either they're powerful enough to defeat us, or they're kind enough to come to us and have us join together with them. It just doesn't make sense that they're just visiting us for no good reason besides abducting people. And then when many people call in the name of Jesus during those abductions, then they stop. So it's more of a spiritual concept. That's really what we're seeing. And that's what the evidence points to.
The DIA investigation based here in Las Vegas was supposed to last 5 years. Funding was cut off, though, after 27 months. But it did produce an enormous body of work, not one page of which has been made public 14 years after that program ended.
I always wondered, are we alone in the universe? Well, that question is back in the spotlight after a documentary on aliens premiered at South by Southwest this week. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more on government officials that took part in this documentary.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
An explosive documentary is setting out to prove aliens are real and the government is covering it up. The new film, The Age of Disclosure, claims to reveal an 80-year cover-up of the existence of non-human intelligent life and a secret war amongst major nations to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
It features more than 30 U.S. officials speaking out on the alleged existence of aliens and UFOs, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
The film just premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival.
Kind of spread like wildfire amongst those who are in the inner circle on this within our government, and they started to realize this is a unique opportunity to bring the truth out.
I think it gave them an opportunity to tell their side of the story, and they had absolutely nothing to gain but public humiliation. I mean, myself, I've lost contributors.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
Reaction has been mixed. One person posting, spreading the word about this topic is the most important story in the history of humanity. But another saying, not a single scrap of verifiable evidence has ever been shown.
Right, look, we know.
I do find it interesting as well as they showed a picture of Lou Elizondo there and other people within the government and the high ranks who are whistleblowing apparently on this, even though they're told by the Pentagon what to say. So they're not really whistleblowers. Many of them are even saying they're spiritual components. Lou Elizondo said someone told him that the phenomenon is demonic and they should stop looking into it. The other guy, forget his name, but he was the FBI guy who was practically what they based the X-Files off of. He said it was demonic or from fallen entities. It was spiritual components, and that's what the evidence points to. And even some of the whistleblowers like Jake Barber, who will watch a video in relation to him and how they're summoning UFOs, that's the word they use. He even said, which I posted on my main channel a few times, about how the experience he had with the first UFO was spiritual. He felt like it was God, but it didn't feel like a man. It felt like a woman. Strange things. It's always it's tying back to the spiritual realm consistently.
That the talk of aliens is nothing new. It's been going on since I can remember. But there's so much more recently with the military. Remember releasing the video of what nobody can explain. Jet pilots saying, "What is that? You can't explain it," right? So Congress is finally saying enough is enough. Check out this on congress.gov, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025, Section 2-4. Here's the quote. Legislation is necessary because credible evidence and testimony indicates that federal government unidentified anomalous phenomenon records exist. Right there, records exist that have not been declassified or subject to mandatory declassification review. So they're saying right there, the proof is there. So we asked you, what do y'all think about it? And our Daybreak Plus director, Mars, caught a couple of responses on camera. Take a listen.
Do you believe in aliens?
I do. To echo what my partner said, I think the place that we live in is much too big for this to be it.
Yes, question mark. I think the world is too big for us to be the only ones here. There's no way we're the only things in the entire galaxy, right? That being said, I don't know what they look like or care, I guess. It doesn't matter. I think if they exist, I think they're just as dumb as we are.
So, aliens. I think they're real. I think that, like, I believe in, like, microorganisms, like, in the vast outer space. Like,
evolution.
Space is so big. So there's got to be at least something else out there. But I don't necessarily believe in aliens, like, landing here on Earth and, like, humans interacting with them.
It always points back to evolution. Really, that's the only explanation that people believe. Whenever they ask these people and they say, space is so big, then the answer for that is, well, we evolved here, so stuff is probably evolving on other planets. It always ties back to evolution, which is a completely failed concept. We know there's no evidence for it. That's why it's called the theory of evolution.
And we're not done. Mars was on a mission. She took a poll of the KVU employees. She asked 25 staff members, do you believe in the existence of aliens? And the results, I was actually shocked by this. 24 people said yes. One person said no. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that one person was Jordan. He said, gotta see it to believe it. All right. For the employees who did say yes, the follow-up. Mars asked them a follow-up. Do you believe aliens have already arrived on Earth? This question was more mixed. 13 said yes. 11 said no.
And they say they got to see it to believe it. That's what people say. So when they do see it and it is revealed, if it's tied to the fallen ones of the end times prophecies, then they will follow after them. Jesus said, you didn't believe me, another's going to come. You're going to believe in him. The Antichrist, the false prophet, especially when they do these miracles, people will believe it who don't believe the Bible.
Really interesting film.
I want to watch that.
Not a single scrap of, viable evidence. I appreciate the strong language.
Well, it comes from both sides, though. The most important discovery in the history of humanity.
Whatever side you're on, it's very interesting.
It is interesting.
It's fun to look at.
Hey, let's leave.
It's weird. It's becoming mainstream, and it definitely is. Here's from May 2nd, Pentagon sitting on secret trove of UFO images. Whistleblower says, we'll watch a little bit of this clip here.
What if the Pentagon is using artificial intelligence to look through classified military servers and store thousands of images and videos of UFO encounters, keeping it all a secret, by the way, from Congress and the American people? Well, a new whistleblower is alleging just that.
Whistleblower. All these whistleblowers within the government, I'm serious, like almost every single one of them. David Grush, Jake Barber, these guys say that the Pentagon, they admit, the Pentagon tells them what they can say. And even David Grush, big time, said it a lot within hearings, congressional hearings. Well, I can't say that. They permitted me to say this in other interviews and other videos. He said, when the Pentagon, they told me just specific things I can say. You're not a whistleblower if the Pentagon is telling you what you can say. Whistleblowers are the ones who come out and say everything. And it's a risk because what they're saying is something they're told not to say, not what the government is telling you to say with this soft disclosure that is becoming completely mainstream. A lot of this stuff here that they're talking about in this video from News Nation is tied to the strange revelation of a project supposedly within the government called the Immaculate Constellation, which again, why tying it to a spiritual thing like the Immaculate Conception of in relation the spiritual with Jesus becoming, born of a woman. So this is the whole document here, which is a lot. So I actually put it into Chat GPT to condense so we can see exactly what it says. And this says that this report presents the findings of years-long internal U.S. government investigations into unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAP, technologies of unknown origin, TUO, and non-human intelligence, NHI. Fallen angels, demons, these are non-human intelligence, and those exist. Initiated in response to credible threats of national security, the investigation draws on classified data sourced from the executive branch accessed by a Department of Defense employee, approved for public release. Again, approved for public release. This version details that the author describes as a deeply troubling conspiracy. Elements within the executive branch have alleged withheld critical intelligence from Congress, effectively sidelining democratic oversight on UAP-related programs for decades. Among the most significant revelations is the existence of a top-secret program known as Immaculate Constellation, tasked with collecting and analyzing intelligence on UAPs and possible reverse engineering vehicles, ARVs and RVs, using advanced military and intelligence surveillance systems. The report outlines extensive evidence, visual, electromagnetic, and eyewitness documenting encounters with a variety of UAPs, many of which defy known physics and aerospace capabilities. These incidents span global regions and include sophisticated flight patterns, atmospheric effects, and interactions with military personnel and assets. Defense Human reports describe repeated first-hand encounters by service members, revealing consistent patterns in UAP morphology, behavior, and sociological effects. Imagery and signals intelligence suggests that other nations are also tracking these phenomenon and responding to them as legitimate security threats. Additionally, the document reveals suppressed historical records, bureaucratic denials, and evidence of a long-running covert arms race to harness NHI non-human intelligence-derived technologies. The conclusion is clear: humanity is not alone, and the deliberate concealment of this fact by government actors poses both a moral and constitutional crisis. The call is made for disclosure, not fear. And that's the program name there, or it looks like it's in Latin or something. But I do find it interesting here how it says, the conclusion is clear, humanity is not alone, the deliberate concealment, something I do want to bring up because I think it's important that we highlight it in relation to Bob Lazar, who's like the big guy who many people believe is telling the truth. And he's one of the only people who we can supposedly trust on the evidence of them, looking at crashed craft and trying to reverse engineer it. He said publicly in one of his old interviews, they have a book about this thick talking about religions and how the religions of the world were created by these entities. Now, obviously, that's a complete flat out lie if you believe the truth of the Bible and Jesus is the Christ. And if you believe in the Bible, then that's a complete false statement. So why would Bob Lazar definitely lie about that? There's no conclusive evidence on that whatsoever. I mean, I guess the fallen demonic entities could have revealed that to the people who are finding their craft, or if they're in communication with them in one way or another. But it's odd that Bob Lazar said that before. That's such a massive statement. He said he didn't even want to talk about it because it was such a wild thing. Then he said it, and here we are years later, and Bob Lazar is doing all these different interviews and documentaries, and he doesn't reference that anymore. Why is that? I believe because it's false. Maybe he's set up, he seems distressed. When he went on Joe Rogan, he was saying he had a bad headache. He maybe wanted to stop the interview. Why is that? Is it because he's being forced to say exactly what they're telling him to say and he's under stress about that? If he's actually being a whistleblower and he's been fined for 20 years, 30 years, longer than that even, why is he so worried about continuing to talk now? He also said he didn't want to ever make money on it in his old clips, and he's even drawing pictures of UFOs he supposedly saw and selling them. So I find that very weird. Now, this is in relation to Jake Barber. He's the one who I mentioned, who he said that he felt the presence of God when he encountered the UFO and it felt like a woman. He is working with his team, Skywatchers, I believe they're called, and they can supposedly summon, very odd that they use that term. Well, not really, kind of shows what it is, spiritual encounter, that they're summoning UFOs with a dog whistle.
They use their electromechanical dog whistle, which is a signaling system that they use to try and attract the phenomena. They say that every time they use that dog whistle, it's worked 100% of the time in summoning the phenomenon. I'm told that within a day, we're going to see a video that is being released by Skywatcher of different types of craft. They claim to have been able to recover video of 9 different shapes including a jellyfish-shaped UAP. Literally, some kind of object with what looks like a metallic surface on its top, but spreading out into some kind of tentacled object. They obviously have no idea, as you and I do, as to exactly what this object is.
So pretty strange. How are they summoning these things? Why are they doing that? They're physical entities, again, from another planet. Makes no sense why, when you blow a dog whistle, these things would come and show up. If there's some weird thing, it's some occult tool that they're using, or something like this, or how they're summoning them with spiritual experiences, which many people do, then that makes more sense. They're doing a spiritual phenomenon and it summons something spiritual. But it makes no sense why entities on another planet would care at all when people meditate, like Stephen Greer directs, even Jake Barber doing meditation practices to summon these entities. Makes no sense if these are physical entities from another planet. If they're so good at summoning physical entities, why don't they just summon other physical things from Earth? They can't. They can summon nothing on the Earth. All they can summon is lights in the sky and weird shape entities in the heavenly realms, which Ephesians 6 tells us is where the principalities and the spiritual wickedness is at work. Satan's the prince of the power of the air. That's why these things are showing up in the air. That's what I believe. That's what all the evidence points to. In my personal opinion, let me know in the chat and in the comments. Most of all, we got to stay strong in these times, no matter what our eyes see or what happens, because the Bible is the truth above everything. Even if every form of evidence that starts to show itself in the world tries to counteract the truth of the Genesis story or the truth of the gospel or Jesus being the only Savior and the only God and us being the only ones made in his image, no matter what we see, if it goes against that, can't believe it.